أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. So inshallah for today's discussion there was a question about خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام. So he created heavens and the earth in 6 days. So there are such verses in Quran, and actually I was looking at it before today's discussion. It appears 7 times in different ways in Quran. So what does that mean? The creation happened in 6 days. And is this a question for you guys or no? No, not really. Okay. And the guy who asked the question is not here. So maybe we should abandon it. Okay, anyways, so Quran provides it as a guidance. So since it's guidance, what sort of a guidance can I take out of that? So let me pick up a verse which is Inna Rabbakumullah Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda fi sittati ayamin thumma istawa 'ala al-'arsh yughshi al-layla an-nahara yatlubuhu hasithan wash-shamsa wal-qamara wan-nujuma musakhkharatin bi-amrihi ala lahu al-khalqu wal-amr tabarakallahu rabbul 'alamin. So indeed your Lord Allah is the one who created heavens and the earth in 6 days. And then, interesting, this part is also interesting. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. So then mounted the throne. Sounds very interesting. The Creator is mounting a throne. يُغْشِي اللَّيْلَ النَّهَارَ يَطْلُبُهُ حَثِيثًا. He covers the night with the day, which is in haste to follow it. وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ وَالنُّجُومَ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ بِأَمْرِهِ. And أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ. His verily is all creation and commandment. Tabarakallahu Rabbul Alameen. Blessed be Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So how is this verse a guidance for you? What do you take out of this verse? Is even the idea of, let's say, creationism. So if we go with the Christian story, they would say, oh, creation took 6,000 years or 6 days, whatever. But now that we have archaeology and we say that, oh, there had been bones of dinosaurs who lived, I don't know, millions of years ago. So what should we understand, or what sort of a guidance in here when the Quran starts saying, your Lord, Inna Rabbakum Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda. So he created heavens and the earth in 6 days. What does this tell you? What sort of a guidance would you expect to get out of that? How can you confirm that? What sort of a day is that? Is it 24 hours? What is a day? Yes.
Play the devil. So we know that the world wasn't created in 6 days from science, it probably took millions of years and whatnot. So perhaps, this is a confirmation of the fact that, like Allah's days are different from our days.
Okay. Allah's days are different from our days. So what does it mean that God has days?
Why is there a need to mention days?
Why is there? Yeah, this is another thing, right? When he wills something to happen, he just says be and it is. So I mean, talking about time relative to the Creator doesn't make sense in the first place anyways, right? So what does this mean then? Why does Creator mention creation in 6 days?
So it's a message to us, and like we're within the creation of time and we perceive time. It may not have to be like the exact 24 hours, but
I guess it's still not clear to me, but I think it has some utility, maybe might have some utility for us to be able to understand, like within like a constraint of time.
Well, this is a very good point. So let's start from there. Again, let's start from the purpose of Quran. So Quran is a guidance to me. So it's explaining things in a way that I can make sense of, right? So let's say to my son, if I'm going to explain that, oh, we'll go somewhere for a holiday, what would I say? Oh, car, win. So, I mean, I'm speaking his language because I want to communicate with him. So I'm trying to use things what he knows. He doesn't know, I don't know, a holiday. What does a holiday mean? A holiday for him is maybe playing in the sandpit. Doesn't matter for him too much if it's a sandpit in our backyard or it's a sandpit in, I don't know, Virginia. But I'm trying to explain it in a way that he can relate to. So then my creator is talking to me in a way that I can understand. I know what a day means. But what is a day? Other than it being 24 hours, what does a day signify?
Rising of the sun, second or something.
Day and night. Day and night happens and we call it a day. And there's something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, for me, practically, it's like the amount of time that it takes for me to like conduct all my daily, like, or like conduct all the affairs I need to, like before, like the sunset, like when the sun rises and the sun sets. So.
Yeah, so daily activities, and this is more like for a from job point of view, this is how we take it. But if we take it from another point, which is where I'm going to take this to, tie this with, from like in a single day of a Muslim, let's use it as a Muslim now. And by Muslim, I mean somebody who thinks, who is sure that there must exist a creator and then submits to that creator. How does the day start? With the Fajr prayer. Then Fajr prayer is marking end of night, starting of the day. So sunrise is the stepping stone for that, milestone for that. And then there is Dhuhr time. This is when sun is at the top. So it's another turning point. Then there is Asr time, which is now things start having shadows and their shadow is as high as they are. So, which means if this is my height, my shadow is as high as I am. But beginning from now on, my shadow is going to start getting larger than I am. Less is before me, more is behind me. So I am starting to decline. Day is starting to decline. My life is starting to decline, which is another turning point, important turning point. Then there is Maghrib prayer, which is when the day dies, so it's sunset. But still, there is somewhat of a light in the horizon. After the sunset, still there's some light. There's some light in the horizon. Then there's Isha time. No more light is left. Even the smallest traces of redness of the sun disappears. And then late night, midnight, there is tahajjud. So in this darkness of night, you again wake up and invited to perform another prayer. So how many? Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Tahajjud, 6. So I counted 6 different milestones throughout the day, right? Sunrise, sun is at the middle, sun is setting halfway through, total sunset, and even the tiniest traces of sun is gone, and then the pitch dark of the midnight. So we have those 6 stages within creation. So this is a single day. And there are milestones in a day. So believer is invited to acknowledge these changes throughout the day. This is why those 5+1 prayers are put in those times of the day, because they are declaring important changes. And a day is an important change. So when Quran mentions Inna rabbakumullahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda fi sittati ayyam, creation in 6 days, this is talking about stages of creation. But what do we understand from stages of creation? Is this talking about stages of creation, or initially it was, let's go with this scientific narrative, Big Bang, and then it was gas, and then it became stone, and then it became magma, and then it so cooled down and it became stone, then the stone became earth, like these stages, sure, which is another stages of creation. But look at Qadir. It is still before Dhuhr time, because Dhuhr time is somewhere around age 30, maybe, like when you are at the peak of your life. So you are getting there. But at some point in your Fajr, you were just a single cell, eventually turning into a baby. And then now you are a young adult. Then will come a time when you are somewhere around your 40s. This would be your Asr time, as it is here now. It starts, those white hair will start showing up, saying that what you left behind is probably more than what is ahead of you. This is the time for how Asr is determined. So your shadow needs to be as high as you are. And it's very beautiful. Symbolically, it's very beautiful. And then Maghrib time is Qadir dies. But then still, people remember Qadir. So this is why when they look at the horizon, they start seeing these red lights. Still, some memory of the sun is left behind. But then Isha time, Qadir's grandchildren, maybe as a name or maybe even not, they say, oh, yeah, there was my grandfather's grandfather name is Qadir Chadar, or something like that, they would say. They don't even pay attention to. So this is the Isha time, you're totally forgotten. And Tahajjud time is referring to Qadir in the grave now. Nobody remembers him. In the darkness of that Tahajjud, it looks for more of a resurrection. So the next morning is going to be Qadir's resurrection. So this is another 6 days of creation. So when Quran talks about خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ, it's talking about all these different layers of creation. So you have these 6 days throughout your life, 6 stages in your life. You have these 6 days, 6 stages, even within a single day. Or you can talk about many such, like starting, becoming mature, going down, declining, dying, and totally being forgotten. So this is being brought to my attention. The same pattern keeps happening across the ages of the universe, across the ages of a single person, or even within a single year, you have these seasons. So spring, summer, fall, winter. So you do see this transition happening. So he is the one who keeps creating the existence in 6 days. So this is not referring to, oh, God created in 6 days and now he is resting. This cannot be understood as such, otherwise it wouldn't be guidance for me. And in relation to that, we should pay extra attention now how the times of the prayer are putting in there. I mean, I'm being lazy, but I shouldn't be. Praying the prayer at the beginning of its time is important for that reason. I mean, nowadays, unfortunately, we are too much inside our offices, houses, and whatnot. But observing the creation, like observing the Fajr time, the skies, observing the Dhuhr time, or its sun's at the top. And actually, this is why, interesting, but beginning of Ramadan is marked by observing the moon. Nowadays, we do it by calculation. But actually, there is, I mean, I followed whatever my community follows. So let me put it this way. This is not a judgment about you should do this or that. But it's very interesting how it's by the side of the moon, because it's inviting you to observe the creation, declare your creator's new creation, because a new moon, new creation is happening. You say, oh, with that we start. So your worship is tied to what you observe in the existence, in the creation. I mean, calculation is another type of observation, but generally we just rely on somebody else's calculation. So this is why in the prayer too, observing the sunrise, observing the sun is at the top, these are not simply to indicate a time, but to observe what is happening in the creation at this moment. Does this make sense so far? The conversation ends so quick. Go ahead.
Just making, but like if you follow the translation, it says, and then ascended to his throne.
Yeah.
Surely your Lord is none other than Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then ascended to his throne. But you're explaining it in a way like it is continuously happening. But if I read it to that point, it feels like it was created and then like it was left behind or something like that.
A very good point. So when it says ascending on the throne or mounting on the throne, let's start from that. What does that mean? The creator to mount a throne or sit on a throne.
As in started to like observe or like be guard over what was happening. Sort of.
So, okay, but what is a throne? What's God's throne? Where is it located?
Like if I think of a king, like the throne is the point of view of like where you are looking at your like raya, like your people. It's like normally like a high point and you're observing everything.
So God is sitting on moon, maybe? No? Okay. You didn't mean that, but I'm just pushing that, I guess.
Like from like it's a vantage point of he created it, but he didn't just, like leave it. He is here.
Okay.
Me, it looks like just like creating the universe and then like sitting on,
Okay, sitting on the universe.
like having your own throne.
Okay. And the universe is going to get crashed.
If I create this earth, like I would sit on
You create it and you sit on it. Okay. Look over it.
Yeah.
Throne? No? Yes.
Yeah, I guess I also think of it maybe not like sit but like actually sitting on something, but like something outside this universe that I can't perceive that is some sort of vantage point, I guess. But I guess maybe thinking in more of a figurative way when I think about like someone ascending to a position of leadership, like it's more like a throne would just be like the symbol of authority, that this is the person who has all the authority or the mulk, mulk over like whatever, like the kingdom. Be of that.
Yeah. So like if back in the day, now that we have East India, West India, Pakistan, whatever. So back in the day when you guys were under the British rule, like Great Britain. So Britain had a throne in India too, signifying that our king, who is probably living in some palace in London, has authority over here. So has a throne means he is dethroned, means he got into authority. He is ruling now. Another very similar verse, وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ, and that he is the one who created heavens and earth in 6 days. وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ, and his throne was over the waters. Like in the previous verse, he was saying that he descended upon his throne. In this verse, it talks about his throne was on waters. What does that mean? The creator is taking waters as part of his authority. What does that mean? How do I observe that? Like if I claim that, like now King Charles, no more Prince Charles, King Charles is on throne. How can I observe this? There should be some signs of it. Like if somebody claims that King Charles is ruling here and then puts, I don't know, Trump's picture rather than King Charles, I would say, well, are you kidding? Like it looks like he doesn't have much authority. I can put an alternative ruler here. So when we say God has authority over waters, can you confirm that? Yes. So there was one brother was saying that, like they had a house at the seaside in Istanbul, and like in the Bosphorus, ships are passing. So and he was sitting in the balcony observing the ships that are passing by, and he has some relative from his hometown. He is his guest, and that brother was trying to start a conversation. And he said that, look at this ship. It says how Allah is making them float, and so heavy, like tons of goods on it, and it's not sinking. And his relative says, no, it's not God. It's just buoyancy, and it has very strong engines. That's why it's floating. So who has authority over waters? Is it that strong engines of ships that is floating them? Or the creator is making them float? What would you think? Was it Archimedes, like the buoyancy? So it's a force. It's just there. Like it's not God ruling there. It's just happening by itself. So this verse, after saying خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ, created heavens and the earth in 6 days. وَكَانَ عَرْشُهُ عَلَى الْمَاءِ, his throne was on water, means he has authority over water, meaning he has authority. And you can take this as wide as you like. You can take it as, is it the laws that is holding these very heavy ships on water? One way to take it. Another way to take it is, look at the life underneath the sea. There's nothing in there, pretty much. Like above earth, you have a lot of trees and food and everything. Under the sea, like very simple, primitive plants, apparently. But look at the biggest creature lives in the sea. Like the biggest whales, they are not on earth, they are in the sea. They are somehow, food is being created for this gigantic creature under that sea. Because if you were to think about, no, food is like trees and the things that we see, the creator says, I will do it with microplanktons or something. So I am the one who provides sustenance. Or you can take that you drink water in your body. Is this water making you who you are? Does it know you? Like this, 70% of your body is water. Like 2/3 of you is water, and this is what makes you. Somebody is, like if I were to put a block of, what is it, marble here, a very master, what do they say? The guy who makes, no, not carpenter, for the statue maker? No, there should be something about that. Somebody who makes statues. Sculpture, yeah, sculpt. So a sculpture takes the stone and makes a masterpiece of, I don't know. The most famous one is what, this Moses, David. So those statues, somebody took water and made Ahmed. Not only made Ahmed once from water, he keeps making Ahmed. He keeps changing him day to day, renews it. It's not that once upon a lifetime carved out stone. Out of water, this guy is being made. So your Lord, وهو خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام, he has been, now I'm changing the translation, creating the existence in 6 days and had authority over water. And here's it. Ahmed testifies this, says that I am being made out of water by constantly being updated. So this is one way to take it. Did I lose the train of thought? Where did we get into here? You asked the question with the throne. Okay, so creation in 6 days and sitting on a throne means these 6 days is giving me the temporal constant change in existence and in multiple scales. You can take the 6 days to be 6 billion years. You can take it to be 6,000 years, 6 hours, and whatnot in your daily life. And you do observe that the creator has authority, and you are throne of the creator. Philadelphia is throne of the creator. Earth is throne of the creator. So these are all different segments or layers of how authority of the creator is being manifest. Yes.
I think like people also have this question of like, oh, like, why do I observe order? You know, like, why isn't water just spontaneously, you know, just being created? Like, why do I observe even like a hydrological cycle or whatever? And like for me, this verse is also sort of confirming that like God has created the heavens and the earth, yes, but he has also created them within order. So it's not like, well, you know, like he created it and now we're observing order. No, it's, you know, like according to his wisdom, he set an order for it that we still see today, and that like 6 days means like, you know, stage by stage, things are gonna happen like one by one. It's not just gonna like spontaneously come into being. So that's also and also sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also like I think like when it comes to us, we're very curious about like creation and how we, you know, came to this earth. That's why we're having like so many debates. Like I love to look up like space stuff, space facts, whatever. And you know, like we do have this question of, well, you know, like how long did it take for all of this to happen? And at best, all we have is a guess, right? But then Allah is even with this verse, it's also sort of like, you know, he's challenging us. Like, I did it in 6 days. Is that something that you would have known if I didn't tell you that? Like, is that a guess you could have made? Like, you have no knowledge of this, but if you know, it is because I am telling you. And that's just
And when we take this though, again, we should look at it from our perspective of purpose of existence. I mean, it shouldn't be like my creator is telling me exactly for informing me about the geological age of the universe, let's say. This is not like the point should relate to the purpose of my existence. So because I am here and I am dying, and my creator comes and says, oh, by the way, the universe was 8 billion years old. I am dying. I mean, that information by itself is not being helpful. So that information should be tied to my purpose in this life. So also let's keep that in mind. Okay, where was I going with that? Okay, any other comments, questions? Yes.
Yes. More some confusion, I suppose, that I still might have. So I would, like, in my reading, I would see this verse and take it as you said, like, this is some information that my creator has told me. I don't really understand it. And then I continue in my reading and maybe hope that I'll understand it at some point. But I guess for me, it's about sort of like the symbols, and this like the confusion is kind of like maybe related to the symbolism. So like so he explains sort of like the 6 stages pretty nicely in a way that made sense in regards to like the phases of like the day and then phases of life. But then for me it kind of starts to fall apart maybe as you take like more like bigger chunks of time, for instance. So it's like how far does the number 6, for example, how much is that important? Like I know also don't want to get too literal. Like everything is in like stages of 6. So I guess kind of thinking about where that mind is, in terms of just saying, it's just representing like transitions. And then like also about like the throne. So like the word I believe is kursi, which I mean is
Arsh. Arsh.
Arsh? Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Okay, yeah. I think I was also thinking of like kursi and like the terms of like just like the imagery of like the throne, I guess. Kind of in my head, I see it as something to be like sat on, right? Like, so that's probably why we have this like image of like God being like outside of the universe and kind of watching on like some sort of throne. But taking it as more of like just like a symbol of authority, I guess. Yeah, I guess I'm still like not like clear as to like how to like, because this wouldn't have been clear to me, I guess, like in personal reading before coming here. So like where to draw the line in terms of like how to take the symbols.
Okay. So yeah, we will pay attention again to reading it by knowing who I am and who my creator is, because this really boils down to that. Putting those definitions properly will allow us to be comfortable in trying to understand Quran. This doesn't mean that we don't have such descriptions. We do have such descriptions, but probably they are not refined, let's put it this way. This is why we are having a hard time to understand it the way now we are trying to depict it here. Otherwise, still you have a description of yourself, which is, I am here as a human being, and I need to submit my assignment, and this and that. And then, yeah, for half an hour or so, let me try to understand, to be religious, what my God is saying. And when it comes to God, yeah, God is probably someone who created the earth and now set it by working itself. So generally, we read Quran in this framework and trying to understand it as such. This is our sort of default mode nowadays. And now anything coming out of that is sounding a little, of course, hard to understand. That's fine. But this is why getting to know who I am and who the creator is going to change a lot what we understand from this verse. We'll get to that, but Dua was having a comment.
Yeah, can we talk about the past tense in there? Because I think the
Right.
question was also being that, like, so are we saying that it is in one of those stages, or have those stages gone by? And then what do we've been talking about like constant creation, how everything is being created every minute. So then if Allah created the heavens and the earth, then am I seeing the created sun, or is the sun being created every minute?
So like in Arabic, past tense is sometimes used for continuous meaning as well. I'm just a very simple Arabic usage. So this is why in such verses, when it says he created, we can take it as he keeps creating. So this is why you will find such interpretations for such verses as well. Like the language itself allows this. But apart from that, God created something. We are talking about a being which is beyond time. But we cannot think or speak without time for ourselves. So this is why when you say God created, like when I say Qadir left his phone, you understand what that means. This is something that he did in the past, but I know he is part of time. When I mention a past tense about the creator, how can I understand that? Right? Because understanding it literally doesn't make any sense at all in any case. So I have to understand it in my condition. So this is why let's come to who is speaking and to whom is he speaking. The speaker here is the one who is beyond space and time, right? But still, he is speaking to someone who is within space and time. And what's the purpose of that conversation? So that I learn. So speech is going to be on my terms. This is the reason that it's in a language that human can understand. This is what Lisanun Arabiyyun Mubin means. Quran is revealed in a language that you can understand. It's a very clear language. Meaning, if I were to speak in a way that human cannot relate to, then what's the point of that conversation? This is why I shouldn't be, generally speaking, I read a verse in Quran and I say that, oh, I don't know, I cannot understand that. I am supposed to understand that. I should be able to understand that. Maybe I am not well versed enough for now today. Fine. But if it's a speech of Creator, the purpose is communication. So, and it's going to be Creator speaking to me. So there's a terminology that they use. In scholarship, they say Quran is the descending of the Creator to the intellect of human being. What they mean by that is, as you're talking to a baby, you descend to the level of the baby. You start speaking words with, like in a babyish language. This is likewise, revelation is descending of the Creator to your level as a human being, which means you need to understand that within your framework. So he's using terminology that you can relate to, because Quran is talking about the unseen to you. So if I start describing you a fruit which you have never eaten in your life, what would I say? I would say, well, tell me the fruits that you know. Oh, you're from Turkey, you know apricot. It sounds like apricot plus orange, some mixture of apricot and orange, I would say, because you don't know what guava is, some tropical fruit is. So Creator is speaking to me with what I know to explain me what I do not know. So this is how it's going to be. Hence, when it says خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ, and I say, well, it's talking about a day, but I know that God is above space and time, beyond space and time. So this day is not that day. It cannot be that he's talking about some past relative to him. It's talking about something about a thing that I can observe, that I can relate to. So this is how we are extracting this meaning from here. It's not like I am cooking up something that out of my fancy. So as a human, positioning myself properly in this existence and realizing where the speaker is coming from, I say then, yes, this is guidance. Guidance meaning I should be able to confirm it. So if it was talking about something in the far distant past, what's going to be its relevance to me in the first place? So I am going through this constant change in my daily life within this year, within my entire life. Then I extrapolated and observed that the same pattern has been happening, these cycles. So shall I take 6 literally in here? I am pretty sure even the literal meaning of 6 within the ages of the universe would make sense. But personally, I'm not that much concerned about it because it's not my profession. But I can observe it in my day-to-day life, which is more relevant to me. But if I was an astrophysicist, that would be something for me to really dig into and see the beauty of Quran in there too, because now it's getting into my professional job as well. But if that's not fitting my point of life, I wouldn't focus on the astrophysical 6 stages of creation and whatnot. It's their profession, but everybody has a share from this verse. And the more important point that I need to focus on, which I tend to forget, is those changes in my life. I say I am getting old. I say I am being proud of my child, for example, because I think that I made the child, or the child is smart because mother and father is smart. This is contradicting خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The Creator says, I created heavens and the earth and everything in between, including your son, including your daughter, not you. You cannot be proud of that. So this is why that verse is really inviting me to observe these changes and be awake and glorify the Creator of these changes. And this is why those times of prayers are important landmarks within the day. And this is why it is 5 daily prayer, 5 times reminder. Because if it was simply, let's say we had the discussion, we had the conversation, and you all said, oh, alhamdulillah, we believe in God, perfect, fine. It wouldn't stay as it is. I really need to observe it in my life in the sunrise, in the sunset, in my life starting to set with the white hair appearing in my head, observing them and glorifying my Creator through them makes this conviction stay with me. Otherwise, we forget. This is why 5 daily prayers are there, and they are connected with the life itself, with the creation out there, so that we are going to be together, constantly observing and glorifying the Creator. It's that crucial. Does this make sense? Or how much of your question is answered? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, let me see. Zara is here. Zara, we have been talking about your question. And you have been silent. Shall we take this as a confirmation or what? Okay, nothing from Zara. Probably he's at a meeting now. Okay, surrounded by people. I hope they're good people, Zara. Okay, so then, since we have a few more minutes, do you have any comments or questions? One verse before this one, the last verse I recited was from Surah Al-Hud. No, Surah Hud, not Al-Hud. Surah Hud, verse number 7. Verse number 6 was, so let me just read these two verses. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. There is no moving creature on earth, but its sustenance depends on Allah. He knows the time and place of its definite abode and its temporary deposit. All is in a clear record. This is a very bold claim. The Creator is saying that any moving creature, there is no moving creature whose sustenance is not depending on Allah. Do you have cells in the dish in the laboratory? Do you do that or?
No.
Okay. So apparently you are feeding them. But this verse is saying that no, Zarid, their sustenance depends on the Creator, and He exactly knows the place and the time and everything of that. After this verse was coming, وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ. He is the one who creates day and night in 6 days. Why is that important? In my life, when I am seeking sustenance and I am worried about my sustenance, it could be food for the iftar, but sustenance is not only food. There are many sorts of sustenance that you're in need of. Like you're in need of people in your life. You're in need of emotional support, which is another type of sustenance. Your intellect needs sustenance, answers. You have questions, you cannot find answers. You name it, many of the sustenance. So you are moving in this life, spatially and time-wise, you are moving, like you are getting older. You, as a moving creature, your Creator is saying that I have total control over all types of your sustenance. How can I be sure of that? How can I comfortably be secure that my Creator is really having full control over my sustenance? Because if I can truly be satisfied with that, I would have no worries. I have students coming to my office, they are graduating this year, and they say job market is horrible for CS. I mean, you think about other jobs. For CS, they say job market is in the decline, and they're worried. They say, well, I did so many applications, none of them is coming back. So this is a worry people have. This verse, if I mean, probably as a believer, I would say, do you believe in this verse? You would say, of course, I believe in Quran, I'm a believer and whatnot. But believing in this verse means, Iman means, are you secure in this verse? Are you sure about this verse? If I was sure about this verse, I wouldn't worry about job application. I did my best. I did my dua, because application is a dua. I did my dua, and I'm confident my Creator is going to give me my sustenance. That would be a sign that I believe in this verse. That would be a sign that I am sure and secure in this verse. But there's a way to observe that. There's a way to attain this. You don't need to close your eyes and say that, yeah. I mean, I believe in it. I believe in it. You don't need to do it like this. Just observe how this body, how many cells are there? Biologist is you, so we have to ask you how many million, billion, billions of cells in this body? Your all the cells, you have billion body cells in your body, right? Have you ever fed any of these cells? What do? You just put a bunch of food into your mouth, just chew it, and then it's being taken care of. Even these hair cells are being taken care of. At the very tip of, like, there are some, especially, let's say, I know Turkey better. So in Turkey, there are distant parts of the country which are at high elevation, distant to the center. So Istanbul, Ankara, these are the center cities. They are well flourished and everything. But if you go to the far east of the country, not much. Development is not as good because they are being forgotten. My hairs are at the tip of my body. It's at the periphery. My skin is at the periphery. All the cells over here, they are being fed perfectly. Whomever is taking care of this body, feeding every single one of them, spoon feeding all the cells. So the one who doesn't forget to feed any of these, would it forget feeding me? Like, he is feeding every single cell of me. And I'm worried about him feeding me. So by just contemplating on my existence, only my physical existence, I should be able to confirm this verse saying that no moving creature on earth, but its sustenance depends on Allah. He knows the time and place of its definite abode and temporary deposit. All is in a clear record. Everything is perfectly recorded. Everything is going within an order. And this takes us best back to what Dua was saying. Everything being within an order. Through that, through observing this order, I get to know that it's under control. Things are under control. This is how I get to reach that conclusion. Comments, questions? No? So may Allah reach us, make us reach this conviction and live with this satisfaction of this awareness. Because otherwise we have all those worries. Will I be able to buy the house and whatnot? Practical worries. Or will I be able to get married or this and that? Since you guys are young people, these are your troubles. We are done with that trouble, alhamdulillah. I found my sustenance. I bear witness that he provides sustenance. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy with that. So, but yes, this is our reality. And as much as we observe, this is why Quran is guidance. So I need to, it's showing me this cells being fed somewhere and saying that you are just another cell within the large cosmos. And I am taking care of you space-wise and time-wise. I am watching over you. I am providing you with sustenance. Do not expect to receive sustenance from anywhere else. And maybe this should be a lesson for myself. Yesterday and today in Taraweeh, they're going to recite Surah Yusuf. And Yusuf alayhi salam is in the prison. And so, you know the story. Two people come and tell him their dreams. One of them is going to get executed. The other one is going to get saved. And he says to the one who's going to get saved, remember me when you're with your Lord. And he says, then he stayed in the, like the following verse says, then he stayed in the prison for a little long time. So as much as I start thinking that, yeah, God has all the sustenance in his hand, but, and then start trying to find other ways around it, or think that partially some other people have a share in that. By not giving me sustenance, Allah teaches me a lesson. Saying that you thought it was going to come from that Lord of the guy. it's not coming. And you apply for a job and you think like, oh, if that person advocates for me, then I can get into the department. That person forgets advocating you, or something happens. But it's a training. The creator says, okay, if you're expecting sustenance to come from there, because he gives sustenance to me so that I know him. But if I expect sustenance from somewhere else, it's very fitting that he doesn't give that sustenance so that I learn, because the point was to learn. If he still gives me through that other person's hand, it would be a punishment to me, not as mercy, really. Because I would think that, oh, things are working because my advisor is a strong guy in the department, and whatever he says happens, and see, I got into the department. So by not giving me, he is teaching me that nobody is powerful. I am the only one that's powerful. So may Allah make us realize that and give us ease in our life and be content with him. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.